Good evening. Welcome to our annual members meeting. My name is Sister Kathy Duffy. As president of the American Teilhard Association, I'm pleased to welcome you, and I'm thrilled that so many of you are able to attend this evening's meeting. And a special one for us. This annual meeting is especially important for us since during this meeting, we spend time listening to our members about important Teilhardian themes and issues. It's another opportunity for us to continue to build community, a Teilhardian community, with those who join us for events throughout the year. The American Teilhard Association was established in 1967. Can you believe that? It's a very old, that was 12 years after Teilhard died. It was established at the, at, at that time to expand the knowledge of the cosmic vision of Teilhard de Chardin, to encourage its critical study and to apply Teilhard's thought as we examine humanity's place in the cosmos, as well as our responsibility for directing the development of an evolving world. This year, we focus our conversation on the timely topic, seeing as Teilhard sees. You should have received these questions during the week, and I think you'll find them in the chat if you don't have them with you. The first one is, how does Teilhard help you to see your life and your life situation in many ways, in new ways, rather? And then how does Teilhard help you to see today's world situation in new ways? There's a lot you could say, I'm sure. But anyway, when we get together to share, see if you can find a nugget that that will be helpful to the rest of us. And we hope these questions have stimulated your reflection and will encourage deep and interesting conversation tonight. So the flow for tonight is this. We begin with a short reading by Jane Nowakowski from Teilhard's major opus, The Human Phenomenon. We know that this is an important theme, the theme that she will be reading from about Teilhard and seeing, because it's in the first few pages of his work. This is where he urges us to see, and to see not only with our physical eyes, but also with the eyes of our heart, to see the inner face of evolution. Earlier in the divine milieu, he encouraged us to see the divine who is welling up and showing through, thoroughly permeating all our creaturely energies. This kind of seeing can stimulate hope in these very troubling times when we continue to wonder what to do next. So let's take a moment to consider, what did Teilhard see while on the battlefield of World War I? Or while on his way into exile to China? Or when World War II broke out? Or when his request to publish his work so important to the vitality of the church, was rejected by his church? How was he able to see the divine welling up and showing through at those times? How could he continue to see the value of his work? How was he able to go on? So after reading this introductory passage, after Jane is reading and we're listening to it, we'll then listen to the responses of three of our members, Tessa Leah, John Coder, and Lillian Coleman. So after that, we gather in breakout rooms to share responses to the questions with a few other members. Now, during these sessions, we want to warn you to be short. We have a lot of people here, and so there might be quite a number in your group, and everybody should get a chance. So if someone monopolizes, gives a lecture or a homily, well, everybody else isn't going to have a chance. So do be conscious of the time, and the facilitators in your room will help you to do that. Each room will have a facilitator. And then after 30 minutes in the breakout rooms, you will return to the main room to engage the whole group with your responses. So those of you who wish to share with us should raise your hand using the feature in the reaction box. It's better to do that than raise your physical hand because there's so many of us. But if you use that, you will end up at the front of the page and we'll be able to see you very well, front of the first page. So if you're interested in sharing with us later on, be sure to do that. When you, let's see, Andrew Del Rossi and I will call on you one by one as we see you coming. And if you can't raise the hand function, if you can't find that button, then you can raise your physical hand and we'll try our best to, to be on the lookout. It might be difficult for us to find you in the crowd, but we'll do our best. So when you share in the large room, be sure to keep your sharing short. If you go past 2 minutes, I'm going to have to ask you to stop. So I don't like to do that, but we're going to have to do that, or otherwise nobody else will get a chance. So we're ready to begin. And so to begin, I would like to ask Jane Nowakowski to unmute yourself and to begin the reading.
We might say that the whole of life lies in seeing. To be more is to be more united. And union increases only through an increase in consciousness, an increase in vision. And that, doubtless, is why the history of the living world can be summarized as the elaboration of ever more perfect eyes within a cosmos in which there is always something more to be seen, something more to be discerned. To try to see more and to see better is not just a fantasy, a curiosity, or a luxury. We must try passionately to see. In fact, we either see or perish. This is the situation imposed on every element of the universe by the mysterious gift of existence. This is the human condition.
Thank you, Jean. And now I'd like to call on Tessa Leah. Unmute yourself, please, Tess, and we'd be glad to hear what you have to say about.
Thank you, Kathy, and thank you, everyone, for inviting me to answer this very provocative question. Certainly, I accept the invitation that Teilhard gives us to see with spiritual eyes and with our inward eyes, as St. Paul says, the eyes of our heart. I think seeing in this way through the vision of Teilhard changes everything and allows us to find God, see God in all things. It kind of answers the mandate to pray without ceasing. When a person is able to see God's God imbued in all of life, it opens up our eyes in new ways. I wanted to just say that one of the tests of truth is that truth is true and it's not altered by time or place. And so I wanted to just for a moment, if you'll indulge me, read the words of Thomas Merton, who I believe famously echoes Teilhard's mandate to see God in all things. He said in 1958, prior to reading Teilhard, Merton said, at the corner of 4th and Walnut, in the center of the shopping district, I was suddenly overwhelmed with the realization that I loved all those people, that they were mine and I were theirs, that we could not be alien to one another, even though we were total strangers. It was like waking from a dream of separateness, of spurious self-isolation. in a special world, the world of renunciation and supposed holiness. The whole illusion of a separate holy existence is a dream. And if only everybody could realize this, there is no way of telling people that they are all walking around shining like the sun. And if he also said, if we all could see each other that way all the time, there would be no more war, no more hatred, no more cruelty, and no more greed. And I believe that Teilhard calls us into the same vision, to see everyone as one, to see the God nature in all people. Merton goes on to say, at the center of our being is a point of pure truth, a point or spark which belongs entirely to God. It is like a pure diamond blazing with the invisible light of heaven. It is in everybody, and if we could see it, we would see these billions of points of light coming together in the face and blaze of a sun that would make all the darkness and cruelty of life vanish completely. I really believe that this is the same truth that Teilhard gives us, that if we can see God's light and God's energy in all things, that our world would be very different today. I also just want to say that Gerard Manley Hopkins also said that the world is charged with the grandeur of God. And so I guess just to briefly summarize, to see God in all things, to see that divine spark, to see the oneness is truly a gift that I feel Teilhard has given to all of us, to remind us that we all share that inner light. Thank you.
Thank you, Tess. And let's just take a moment to reflect on what Tess has shared with us. And now, John Coulter, if you would unmute yourself and begin sharing.
There we go. And it's John Cotree. That's how I pronounce my name.
Tree.
A coconut tree. Yeah. So when I was asked to think about Teilhard seeing in my life, I thought about 2 points in my life. And the first goes back a mere 60 years. It's I'm 24. It's 1964. And I'm leaving the Jesuit seminary. I'm leaving the Philosophate, and I'm re-entering the world. And a classmate of mine by the name of Pete Titland, who spent his life in the Jesuits, gave me a book called The Divine Milieu. He wrote a very nice inscription inside, very encouraging, concluding with the hope, and I quote, "You really get your ass in gear and never slow down." And what I remember about that book is something that reminds me very much of what Tess has said. And it's about Teilhard and seeing. He said, "These pages put forward a way of teaching how to see. Place yourself here where I am and look from this privileged position, which is no hard one height reserved for the elect, but the solid well, that's a little too much. Without a mixture, without confusion, the true God will, under your gaze, invade the universe, our universe of today, the universe which so frightened you by its alarming size or its pagan beauty. He will penetrate it as a ray of light does a crystal, and with the help of the great layers of creation, he will become for you universally tangible and active, very near and very distant at one and the same time." That passage really stuck in my mind, and I could see these rays of light penetrating. And the meaning at the time for me was this world that I was re-entering, it wasn't the world, the flesh, and the devil. It was the world, the flesh, and these rays of divine light. The world was good, inherently good. It possessed its own goodness. And that was an important message for me at the time. It was also 1964, John the 23rd opening the window to let fresh air into the church, the beginning of the Vatican Council. So that message about seeing was very important to me at that particular time in my life. And then I go ahead about 60 plus years to the current time. And in the last 10 years, I've become very immersed in Teilhard. And he talks about or reveals two ways of thinking, ways that we call left brain and right brain. On the one hand, rational, logical, intellectual, empirical, scientific. And on the other side, the so-called right brain, intuitive, mystical, metaphorical, analogical, really two different ways of seeing, two different ways of knowing. And he exemplified both. I thought of when he described how the idea of evolution came to him in his memoir, and he talks about John Henry Newman and Darwin and Bergson, the intellectual side of things. But then he says it came as a presence to him, much more than anything else. And these ideas lit a fire that was already there in him. So it was two ways of thinking at the same time, no contradiction between the two, right-brained and left-brained. Now, the message for me today is, sure, think both ways, but in my 80s, I find myself leaving my left brain for my right brain. That is, I don't want to carry creeds, doctrines, dogmas, explanations. I want to discard a lot of that stuff and travel lightly, simply, with just an intuition or just an image, maybe a sound, maybe a phrase. But I guess it is a more mystical kind of seeing that we're talking about here. And so when I think of Teilhard and his two ways of thinking, I do think of, at this point in my life, wanting to travel very light, more on the right brain, if you will, mystical side. So two different messages at two different points in my life.
Thank you very much, John. And let's take a minute to kind of let that, to absorb what John has been talking about. And finally, William Coleman, can I ask you to unmute yourself and share your response to those questions?
Sure. Thank you for inviting me to do so. Today, as my heart is grieving and grateful at the same time, I consider what impact Teilhard de Chardin has had on my life and my way of seeing. In 2023, I began joining Sister Kathleen's reading circles and also had attended other events earlier, like the 2020 annual members meeting at the Union Theological Seminary in New York City, where Sister Kathleen was announced as the new president of the American Teilhard Association, as well as the more recent annual retreats at Dalesford Abbey. Throughout those years, The impact of Teilhard's insights of our evolving world has also steadily grown in my life, especially in the last few years, as I cared for my mother, who passed away this past November. She was 105, hence my grieving and my gratitude. The Divine Milieu, which we read in Lectio Divina style, offered me a way to understand the cycles of life through a Teilhardian evolutionary lens, not only for my mother's life, but that of our own family. Teilhard's concept of the divinization of activities allowed me to recognize and honor the work that gives you life, whatever that happens to be, and that it is an expression of God's love, of the power of his divine attraction. My favorite expression of Teilhard is that God is at the tip of your pen. As a few members of my family are writers, and I imagine that God was also at the tip of my mother's needle, as she created many beautiful garments for people of all walks of life. In Teilhard's words, God, in all that is most living and incarnate in him, is not far away from us, altogether apart from the world we see, touch, hear, smell, and taste about us. Rather, he awaits us every instant in our action, in the work of the moment. Teilhard's concept of the divinization of passivities of growth increased my awareness that we are frequently not in control of what happens to us. We undergo the current of life as an impulse or a force greater than us, where favorable forces are at play that lead us closer to our goals, to our desires, and to the building of God's creation. Such was the case when my family arrived in the United States as political refugees from Cuba in 1962, fleeing from the chaotic forces of the Cuban Revolution. The Catholic Church and the Presbyterian Church welcomed us and took care of us until we could take care of ourselves. My understanding of Teilhard's divinization of passivities of diminishment strengthened me as I witnessed the inevitable forces of disintegration pulling apart the fiber of my mother's body. Teilhard gave me hope that there was a little corner of my mother that was spirit, and that energy would merge and unite with the cosmic Christ. She would continue to be part of our lives and God's evolving creation. As far as how can I derive strength and hope to face the forces that threaten our world today, I am grateful for having read in our reading circle, The Mass on the World and the Spiritual Power of Matter. We are in these struggles of opposing forces together. What do? We continue to dialogue, to hold these Teilhardian conversations, to recognize people's different gifts and contributions to the building of God's creation. See, in Teilhard's words, what is yourself in others and others in yourself. And in solidarity with the poor and the marginalized, resist the destructive forces of evil. We reject violence and express our desire for increased being in union with God by standing up to those who seek to intimidate and rob the migrant community and their advocates of their dignity and human rights.
Thank you so much, Lilian. Beautiful. And let's take a couple minutes, well, not a couple minutes, but a few moments to listen to our hearts. So I want to thank our speakers. Thank you very much for preparing, and it's a beautiful triptych of what we're talking about tonight, different aspects. So I appreciate that. And now I'm going to ask our technician to move us into the breakout rooms. So while you're there, please enjoy the conversation, and we'll be back in about a half hour, all right? And then if you have something that you wish to share, we'll be glad to hear it again, all right? So enjoy. So I hope you had wonderful conversations. You know, you were able, and you had plenty of time, right? Usually we make 15 minutes, and it's just about time to stop when you just start. So, and I do have my timer ready. So, if you're interested in sharing something with the group, please see if you can find the raise the hand function, and then we'll see you up the top of the front page, and we'll call on you. Where's Andrew?
I'm right here, Kathy. We have Richard Jordan with his hand up. Let's go to
Yes, why
Richard.
don't you? I'll spotlight him, and let's see. And why don't you spotlight yourself?
Right. I'm going to do my best to set an example. So I'll see if I can keep this to 2 minutes, which is difficult. But the auras, the spotlights, were being very playful with all of us in our breakout room. So we had great contributions in terms of how does Tehar help us in our daily life. One person contributed to be able to like ourselves more, to realize that we're walking not just with 8 billion other people, but with billions and trillions of plants, insects, trees, the whole creation. And that Tehar gives us an ability to be fearless in reacting to the chaos that is going on around us. We're looking and saying what we do and act is going to echo down through eternity. So we don't know yet what that impact is going to be. And Tehar also says it's okay to be a creature. It's okay to be a friend to the trees, to the great red oak tree when we surrounded it and said goodbye to it at Tom Berry's house. There were so many wonderful nuggets in our group with Ralph, Sue, Linda, and Sheila. And I think the thing I'll leave us with is that we're all going through this, for whatever reason, together, whether it's yes, no, take a stand, not take a stand. We're going through it together. Thank you so much. And thanks to the group.
Wonderful.
Wonderful.
And
Thanks,
thank you. You
Richard.
kept the time very well. Good model. Thank you.
Just a reminder to use the raise hand function. Let's go to Laurie Elo.
Our group expressed lots of appreciation for the three people who gave reflections earlier, and I think that if I could say that there was a thread running through our conversation, it was the idea of either actively looking, seeing as finding God in all things. And so one person spoke about things that they recognized as miraculous in their life, and another spoke about that was just the theme, that we somehow need to develop our ability to find God in things as Teilhard did. That's what the seeing amounts to, seeing Christ in all of it.
Very good. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Let me put my timer going. I'm not Catholic, and I've been very influenced by Teilhard since I was a boy, really, and also increasingly by Eastern philosophy, and much later by the Course in Miracles. And so it's helped me to shift my perspective. And there's I'm a member of a group called Academy for the Advancement of Post-Materialist Sciences, where we're increasingly seeing consciousness is not something that's an outgrowth of the complexity of the brain, but but consciousness is primary, and we're reflecting consciousness, which I see as joining in Christ. But that's not Jesus. That's more like the Atman, the whole self, the creative intelligence, the source, the love. And to me, that's what's been really inspiring to me about Teilhard, because it allows me beyond the boundaries of the particular denomination to see that we're all one. We're all whole. We're all part of that same consciousness, that same lovingness that's creating. And I think Teilhard's views will be expanded better if they're not held within the confines of the Catholic Church. I have nothing against the Catholic Church, but I have a lot of respect and growth for the concept of love and God being love. I'll pass.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you, Jim.
And Therese?
Well, I think speaking about what Jim just said, we all agreed love is the issue. we have to keep going back to love. And I think we all said that in a variety of ways. But I think that in some ways that Rasul kind of summed up, like he kind of hit the center when he said, with all of this, and we all, had many things. We love the three speakers. He said that who is speaking for God today? Who is making God relevant? That where is that strong directive coming from? Because, there's so many people that are using scripture to suit whatever they want. There's the nationalist, white nationalist. That's a kind of a break off. And he said, the other thing he said, that was the one thing. Who is making God relevant? Like, where is the voice, or the voices, and that's what we have to attend to help other people, to have perspective. And the other thing he said was that what distinguished Teilhard really was that he spiritualized matter. Matter wasn't a bad thing. Matter was beautiful. The earth was beautiful. We're beautiful. And that's what we have to work with. And God wanted to become human. So, I think for me, that helped me a lot when he said those two things, because I think we were all talking around those things, But fundamentally, it's always safe to go back to love. You can't lose.
Sounds good. Thanks so much, Therese.
Let's get Ernie up here.
Just in case, I just want to echo the chat in case you're not reading the chat. There's a really good quote in there, ostensibly from Teilhard. Quote, "Nothing is precious except that part of you which is in other people, and that part of others which is in you." I wouldn't quite go so far as to say that nothing is precious except that, but that's the most precious, I think, communion. I was remembering the slogan of the colonies in the American Revolution, "Join or die." And I think we're in a situation where that's literally the imperative, not join as in sign up for something, but join, find union, find each other, or die.
That's true.
Well
Very
put in.
good.
Thank you.
Amen.
We've got Hilda with a hand up. Where is she?
Yes, just to say that what Jim said about, Teilhard, takes us beyond all of these barriers between denominations and all the splits in Christianity. Teilhard's vision is so cosmic that all of these divisions can be seen for what they truly are, petty and not, well, obviously they're difficult, but, in a vast perspective, in a much larger perspective, we can reconcile our denominations much more easily. I think Teilhard is a great aid for ecumenical dialogue and vision, simply because his heart is so big and his mind is so big, and I certainly think it's for everybody, and certainly not just for Catholics. I think he's for everybody, really.
Thank you.
Thank you, Hilda.
Wonderful. Frank?
Yeah, one of the things I was struck by is in all the things that are going on in our world in terms of, quantum physics, the evolution of consciousness, cosmology, nonviolence. A lot of those areas I'm finding are quoting Teilhard. So it's a real nice feeling to be involved in a lot of that stuff. And when someone mentions Teilhard, you can then expound a little bit on them. So it's pretty powerful when you think about it. This guy that wrote and then he was silenced until after his death, and now the influence that is spreading out across the planet, not just in Catholic or even Christian areas, but all across the globe in so many areas. So it's a real nice feeling to be associated and have some knowledge of what he has done. So
So
Thank
great.
you, Frank.
Thanks for being with us. I appreciate
Let's
it.
have Mary Ann come on up here, the spotlight. Oh, please. Oh, there you go. Thanks.
Yeah, had to get the button right. In our group, one person mentioned that there's a wholeness and a beauty in the writings of Teilhard. And to me, that idea of beauty I see in different places too. And beauty is godness in other writings that I've come across. And so I see all of that holding together into a oneness. And someone in our group also mentioned that she was looking back at the Gospel of Mary Magdalene, and she sees some of the same writings, same elements there in what's in Teilhard. And so we look at it, and we can see, I believe, the mystics throughout the ages have a common view, and that is seen in Teilhard's writings, which that idea of beauty is something that lifts me above the messiness that we live in today and always, really. Thank you.
Thank you. Our group, I don't want to speak for our group, but I guess I could summarize. We talked a lot about a personal God, not just for humans, but for, all creation. But what I wanted to comment on is my experience of being in these various groups. I've been in a number of book circles and other cosmogenesis Zooms and so forth. And what this has meant to me over the past, probably 15 years or so, I started out with Ilia Delio, but joined the ATA also. And what has happened to me, which I think is an experience not to disregard, is the connection with the people who are in these groups and how this assuages, at least for me, some of the loneliness that goes on in our world, because we talk about deep sense of our personal God. So I guess I want to thank Kathy and Andrew and the board members and so forth who sponsor these conversations that nourish us. And I want to encourage people tonight to look at the offerings. I don't want to make it a commercial as much as I want to help us to see that there is something deeper in these online meetings than I think I ever thought would happen to me. So, amen.
Thank you, Gail.
Thanks for the commercial.
We appreciate that. Let's get John Cotree up here.
Just a quick, my takeaway, God on the tip of a needle. That was something that Lillian said that really stuck with me. I mean, the cosmos is really big. This is huge stuff we're talking about. I'm just a drop in the ocean. 8 billion people and how many trillion galaxies and everything. But still, in this ongoing creation, there's nothing I can do that is too small to do. I mean, every bit matters. And that's why that phrase that Lillian used to describe her mother, I think, that God was at the tip of the needle, that one really stuck, that I'll walk away with.
Good. Thank you, John. That's one of my favorites too, especially if I'm trying to write. God's at the tip of my pen.
Let's have Mara come on into the spotlight.
Here we go. All right. Well, I just want to echo Gail. In reflecting on this meeting, one, I thought the question was just wonderful to call us to think about what we've experienced. But I also want to just share that in the various Zoom communities that I've participated in, we've really formed a community, and we've formed a relationship and a loving kind of sense and a trust. And for me, it's opening up my intimidations to be able to feel confident about speaking about Teilhard and about sharing what I understand about Teilhard. And I'm just going to share for comic relief. I missed Christmas because I had a concussion and things weren't too well, but things were better. And I really missed having a Christmas tree. And so I was at a book club, and someone mentioned that they had a Valentine tree that they were still up. So I thought that was cool. So I set it up, and I thought, well, I'm really not into Valentines. So it's become my Teilhard tree. And I've begun to add some of his different quotes on it. So it's like, it's a conversation point. I just thought I'd share that for the fun of it. Thank you.
That's terrific. Thanks,
Thank you,
Mara.
Mara.
You always have good ideas.
Let's have Kat come into the spotlight.
Oh, I want to thank all of you. You're giving me a lot of encouragement tonight. That just before I came on, I was near tears. That I am feeling very weak, that I've been in pain now for over a year and a half, and I can't take 2 steps at this point. As of this week, I will be able to again, I hope, but I can't drive my car. I can't go downstairs. I live in a bungalow, and I have a lovely TV room and sewing room and everything downstairs. And that I'm so weak that I've been rather discouraged. And yet I know that as I'm going along, and I thought I was dying to this weekend. I was letting that happen and trying to go into God open my heart to really go to God. Well, as it turns out, I'm not dying, but I'm still weak. And but I've been trying during this time to make life joyful for others. And I have been really encouraged by people, as much as the crazy Christians in the States and the crazy leaders we have had and are out there doing such havoc. I have run into such incredible amounts of kindness. And I try and validate that kindness by saying to people, what is your name? And then I say thank you to them in their name. And they just glow. Like when I was in the hospital, I thanked the woman who was pushing the cart with the food on it and told her how much I appreciated she got things down hot. And she just glowed. So as much as I'm a little discouraged right now, could use your prayers. Tonight has been
there we go again.
The slow movement of God, and that you're all there. It's really helpful. So thank you.
Thank you, Kat, for sharing. We're going to have Sam come into the spotlight.
This has been absolutely wonderful. Our group was spectacular. I want to thank Jerry Critchley for putting that information up there. And for those, and in response to John Kotra's evocation of the enormous size of the universe, for those of you who look up at the night sky and find yourselves feeling small, I've always found this to be helpful. That and Teilhard speaks about complexity a lot. So complexity trumps, and I hate to use that word, trumps size. Okay, so it isn't the size of the universe, it's the complexity. So this conversation we are having is far more complex than the entire galaxy, than the entire Milky Way galaxy. In fact, it may be more complex than the entire universe, with the exception of, you know, these little islands of super complexity, which is you. Now, a single cell, a single living eukaryotic cell is more complex than the entire internet. Think about the internet, the zillions of bits that are going back and forth constantly just to have us be on the screen is a tinker toy compared to a cell in a blade of grass. So it's, and in terms of scale, our size is about halfway. It's further down to a quark than it is out to the edge of the observable universe. Okay, that's a fact in terms of scale. So mathematically, so you're actually pretty big in the universe, and it's pretty exciting to realize that it's taken 14 billion years for us to be able to sit here and talk to each other. I love you. Thank you.
Thank you, Sam. We have Paulo.
Yeah, I just wanted to echo Sam. I did a little research recently because I was thinking about this idea of the largest thing is the observable universe and the smallest thing possible is the Planck scale. And on that scale, I was curious what the midpoint is, and the closest thing to the midpoint is an ovum. That's the closest thing to the midpoint in degrees of magnitude of size is the human ovum. So it made me think that at the moment of conception, Christ was actually the center of the universe. So anyways, just wanted to share that. Sam made me think of that. So
okay, well, thank you very much. I'm all changed around. Anyone else? We probably have time for maybe one more.
We have Margaret's hands up.
Margaret, good.
In our group, what was mentioned a number of times in a number of different ways is the struggle to hold on to the belief that everything that's happening is going someplace, that there's a transformation that is happening, even though we cannot see it. And there were a number of different examples offered in relationship to that. But I just thought that it was an important point, I think, in our group, to hang on to that as an anchor for hope in this moment.
Right. The chaos we experience is really driving us to a new level of consciousness.
Yeah.
It's so important at this time. Well, I would like to thank all of you very much for your attention, your wonderful comments and questions. Well, I guess there weren't as many questions, but just your comments about, what's going on in our world today, in your world. And the speakers who started out, thank you. And I'm glad you were thanked by some of the participants too. And so to conclude, I just want to see if I can share another PowerPoint.
Are we going to plug the retreat?
Yes,
Kathy?
I'll give you a clue.
Okay.
Okay. First of all, I would like, there isn't there? You can see that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can see it. There you have the website, our website, and my email if you want to get in touch with me. Oh, I know what's wrong. I'm not playing it. And so that's, that's important information. be sure to go to our website. There's a lot on that website. We'll talk about that maybe the next time. And then I want to turn turn it over to Andrew, who will talk about our annual event and retreat that we are planning. And the thing is, if you go to our website, you can already register if you're interested. But Andrew, why don't you tell us about it?
Yeah, thank you, Kathy. So I posted a link to more information about this year's annual event and retreat in the chat. Feel free to check that out. Sam, you're making me laugh with your comment there. Are we paisans? We're all brothers and sisters, right? The human family. I just want to say that the past 2 years have been phenomenal experiences. We have had some people come both years. We've had other people make it possible to come one of those 2 years. We've had people come as far as California. Ernie joined us from there last year. But it's going to be at the end of May. It's the weekend after Memorial Day, 29th through the 31st. And we're doing our best to keep this affordable too for people. So you can find all that pricing information on the website. But we acknowledge that it takes money and time to travel, and it takes planning. So we want to make this accessible because, like I said, it's just been such a impactful event the past couple of years. It not only is scratches the itch of what you're getting tonight, but it just fills it even more, fills that cup even more, because you're in person with people. You're able to socialize, sit down, break bread, have a meal in the evening, maybe have some wine and cheese together, listen to these heartfelt talks and heady questions, and really engage this stuff. So I am the director, gratefully, of the Spirituality and Retreat Center at Daylesford Abbey. So if you have any questions regarding accommodations, feel free to contact me and be happy to help you with that. But the Abbey is a beautiful retreat location. We're on over 80 acres of the Pennsylvania countryside. So if you've never been there, you can check us out online. And like I said, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to myself or Sister Kathy. And we hope to see you there. There is a Zoom option, though we are certainly encouraging in-person attendance. The past couple of years, we've had between 30 and 40 people in person. And like I said, it's just been a phenomenal event. So we're looking forward to 2026.
It's true. I think we can all second that motion. Thanks, Andrew. And I'm doing a program tomorrow and next Wednesday at Ocean Grove. If you're interested in that, you can go to our website and get the information. I also am engaged in 3 retreats this summer or this fall, one in Kentucky, one in Michigan, one in Pennsylvania, on themes about Teilhard. And they're week-long or short weeks, some short weeks. So it's wonderful if you join us for that time. It's an in-depth experience. Then we have these reading circles, which are terrific. Ernie is almost finished with the Human Phenomenon after a year and a half. And I'm working on Nostalgia for the Front right now, the essay that Teilhard wrote during the war. And Sam and Paula Guarnaccia have a wonderful Teilhard conversation group. So you should, as someone said, I guess Gail and a couple others, Maura, these are ways really to get to know Teilhard better. We also put out a book of the essays written by Teilhard scholars, and particularly his relatives, at the anniversary of the 100th anniversary of the Mass on the writing of the Mass on the World, and that's available on Amazon. And of course, if you haven't seen the film Teilhard Visionary Scientist, you should quickly go see that. If you go to our website, it's on the front page of that, on the home page. All you have to do is click this icon and you're there. And it's 2 hours and it's just fabulous. Frank and Mary are here with us tonight and want to congratulate them for that. And if you haven't renewed your membership lately, or if you aren't a member yet, please join us. And again, you can find this information on our website. And so with that, I would like to thank you for being here with us tonight. Please come again. It's wonderful to have such a great group of members. So we hope to see you at the next event.